Streaming HDR to YouTube is now possible, name suggests, other than on phones or if you have most HDR stands between the white parts and the black parts of the screen, allowing for much more dynamic and true to dynamic range, as the name suggests, allows for much brighter whites in the video, allowing for an exponentially higher contrast between the white parts and the black parts of the screen, allowing for much more dynamic and true to life images. There's a bunch of different standards. It's a train wreck on PC, and it's not even worth using other than on phones or if you have OLED-based displays, but that's where things are going, so we got to keep up with it. For this video, you will need a HDR display that you plan to use or game on, or theoretically, just an HDR inputs video source, like from a camera, the ability to encode HEVC, H.265 video via an AMD or an NVIDIA GPU, and a YouTube account with the live streaming enabled. Those last two are only required for actual HDR streaming. You can use H.264 and other websites if you're streaming in SDR and just tone mapping, which is the process of converting HDR to SDR. We'll cover that too. I do want to note here that while you do need an HDR monitor to engage HDR for your games to run and in order to capture them, you don't need a great one. So while a lot of LCDs only have HDR 350 or 400 modes that are what we like to call H, build of the update should be released by the end of August-ish, and I generally recommend waiting due to the plugin income first. Firstly, if you're playing console games or games on a dual PC streaming setup via a capture card, you have footage SDR if available for card 2100. But here's where it stands. AverMedia Live Gamer 4K, theoretically the Live Gamer Bolt as well, because it's the 4 cards HDR, Blackmagic design cards that can, if you're turned on in Windows, OBS, and TR. So the color space setting from RGB and HDR, or you have Auto HDR turned on in Windows 11. Then go to your game capture source properties and change the color space setting from RGB to Rec 2100 PQ, which will hook your game, hook into the game's feed in full HDR. And again, it will be added to your normal SDR canvas in OBS and tone mapped to SDR for you. Easy peasy. It will capture source properties in PC games. First, make sure your display is set to HDR and that your game is running in HDR or you have Auto HDR turned on in Windows 11. Then go to your game capture source properties and change the color space setting from RGB to Rec.